Hello, everyone, and welcome to Procrastination Station, the show where I wait until the very last minute because I've just been too tired to do anything. No, but actually, welcome back to Rated L for Lore. Today is episode 5, and despite me being totally unprepared, you might say, I'm ready to record and talk to you guys and just have you listen to my sweet, sweet voice for anywhere from 20 to 50 minutes, I think. This is probably going to be a shorter episode, and I am okay with that. But before I reveal to you what game we are covering today and all that, I just want to, again, say thank you to everyone who is listening. Honestly, the response is better than I could have hoped so far. I'm still waiting on some reviews and emails, so get on that, please, because to get the first review and, the first email of, anything would be such huge, cool milestones, and I can't wait to, actually shout out whoever does that, so be the first one to do it. Come on, do it. I'm challenging you. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Do it. If you're bad, do it. Just do it. I'm sorry. Also, I think it's really cool to be able to, look at my analytics on Audio Boom here and just see that it's not people that I can pinpoint as being, people in my life who are going to support me, which I love and appreciate. But it's really cool to see unique listeners here that, I don't know anybody in Cleveland. I don't know anybody in Montreal. I know no one in Minneapolis or Holland, which is fucking wild, or, New York. And that's so cool. There's at least one person in Canada listening, which is so cool. Sup, Canada? But yeah, so thank you for being here. And if this is the first episode you're listening to, again, my name is Ashley Day, and this is Rated L for Lore, the podcast where I talk at you about video game lore and gaming theories and stories, and it's not entirely defined, but it's fun, and that's what this is all about, just having fun and talking about video games. So, without further ado, I'll stop. It's time to stop. I'll stop talking about just my mushy feelings and actually get into today's game. So also, as I previously mentioned that I'm kind of unprepared, usually I script out my, usually I write a script. Today we're going unscripted, it's just my notes, because, while technically I have time to write a script, this episode might be late then, and I kind of don't want the 5th episode, the 3rd week that I'm doing this, to be late. That just seems kind of unprofessional, as if I ever claim to be a professional. But I'm just going to try reading off my notes and see how I feel about it too, because maybe I just won't write scripts in the future unless, the game is super, convoluted and difficult, kind of like Five Nights at Freddy's and Miseo. But this game definitely is not. I actually think the thing we're going to be focusing on least is the story, which is a little off-brand, but I promised a sillier and brighter, more uplifting episode because all of the episodes so far have been pretty dark. So that's what I'm going to do for you today. So today we're going to talk about Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric. Probably the worst game of any of the Sonic games. But I'll talk about that more, just you wait. So I know my favorite thing about Sonic games, I think, is that once they started getting away from the strictly platformers, from the Sega Genesis and the Dreamcast, even some of the Dreamcast ones are kind of iffy at best, but at least they have a pretty solid idea of what they want to be. Just so many of the Sonic games are just laughably awful. and they have these crazy storylines that just are so out of scope for a Sonic game, I feel. Because the best Sonic games are when you're just Sonic the Hedgehog going on a linear platformer, getting rings, and then fighting Eggman. Like, that's it. That's a good Sonic game. You don't need to complicate it, I feel. But I guess that's just me. So, anyway, Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is an action-adventure game developed by Big Red Button and published by Sega for the Wii U. But it also had an accompanying, I think, 3DS game that just... I think the 3DS game was actually better than the Wii U game. And I haven't really seen much of the DS game. And I didn't really research it for it. I thought it was the same game, but doing my research, it sounded like it was a different game. But I didn't really dig too hard into that just because we're talking about Sonic Boom. So the game is a spin-off of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, which with looking through like different customer reviews and stuff, and gamer reviews, like that is actually kind of a redeeming quality of it. So it's a part of like its own franchise, which is the Sonic Boom franchise, which also consisted of an animated television series, and the games were supposed to be the prequel to the TV series. And actually, like, seeing some memes and like GIFs and stuff of the TV series, like, at least the writers for this TV show can make fun of themselves, it looks like. Like, they don't take themselves too seriously, which is great, because with a franchise like Sonic Boom, I don't think you really can. But some of the people who made the game are very proud of themselves and are very proud of it, and I don't want to take that away from them, because I know I could never make a game, and it's definitely got to be way harder than I could ever imagine, because I know literally nothing about making games. But yeah, so Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric was met with a very negative response from critics, where it was heavily criticized for its numerous glitches, camera system, controls, combat, story, dialogue, and character development, which is safe to say, like, the entire game. That's just the entirety of the game. So the game did not perform well commercially, and with the combined sales, so with both the Wii U game and then the separate DS game, they totaled 620,000 copies sold by May 2015. And mind you, the game was released, at least in North America, it was released in November 2014. So that's like 6 months. Within 6 months, they sold just over 600,000 copies. That's sad. They definitely didn't make their money back on this game. So Sonic Boom like I said, Sonic Boom is an action-adventure game with a stronger emphasis on exploration and combat compared to previous Sonic games. And it features the 4 main characters who the player can control, which are Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Amy. Each character has their own unique abilities and gameplay mechanics. Sonic can use his speed and homing attacks, Tails can fly and use different gadgets, Knuckles can burrow underground and climb on walls, and Amy can use her hammer to swing on poles. So each character also possesses a whip-like weapon called the Enter Beam, which allows them to perform various actions such as hanging from speeding rails, removing enemy shields, and solving puzzles. There is also a focus on collaboration, with players switching control between the multiple characters and using their abilities to progress throughout the game. The game also can support local co-op multiplayer for 2 players, and there's also some additional modes for up to 4 players locally. And another big thing that was pretty notable with Sonic Boom, the Rise of Lyric, and the 3DS game, which I believe is called Shattered Crystal or something like that, Sega did not provide reviewers with advanced copies of either of them, so they could only begin reviewing once the game was on sale, which that itself for a lot of reviewers kind of was foreboding in the sense of it was going to be a rushed and not fully polished complete game. but it was still released when it was supposed to be released. I actually believe that it was first talked about being made in, or it was first announced in May of 2013. So, as you could tell, like, just within the dates, it just doesn't seem like they spent a whole lot of time on it. So, the finished product that everyone got kind of makes sense for the time frame. So, on the very first day of its release, there was a glitch that was discovered that allowed players to jump to infinite heights by pausing the game during Knuckles' jump, which could be used to bypass most of the game. I watched Game Grumps' playthrough of this, and that's a thing that they did whenever they would get stuck and confused, because it's a game that's very easy to get confused with, just because of all the various problems it has. They would just use the whole Knuckles jumping glitch, and because of this glitch, speedrunners managed to beat the game in under an hour, which is kind of ridiculous, because there are some speedruns that are like hours long, and that's a speedrun, so like it's kind of a big glitch. In January 2015, a patch was released to fix a few problems with the game, which included the Knuckles jump glitch. So, now that we've kind of covered like about the gameplay and kind of started off talking about like the reviews and how this game was received, let's talk more like specifically about some reviews. So there were some pre-release demos at E3 in 2014, and the people who were there for Game Central stated that it was the very worst game in the lineup, which was so unspeakably awful they couldn't even force themselves to play through the whole demo. That's pretty bad. Like, I would not be very proud of that if I was the developers of the game. Like, that's kind of sad. Also, just back to the Game Grumps playthrough that I watched. At the end, when they were going through the credits, as soon as they saw the quality assurance team, they just kind of laughed, because it really doesn't seem like there was any quality assurance. And I don't want to knock the developers of the team. I know Game Grumps got an email from someone from the team saying that they did their best and all that, and like, I understand, but also, come on. If the game's not ready, push back the release date. Like, polish it at least. Do something. So the game also has a Metacritic score of 32 out of 100, which is the lowest for any Sonic game so far. It has a game ranking score of 33.15% out of 100. Don Sass, I believe that's how you pronounce that, from GameSpot, stated that the game had repetitive level design, dull puzzle solving, numerous bugs, and an uninspired combat system. He also stated that through a combination of unwieldy controls, a broken camera system, and a total lack of responsiveness, the platforming and exploration elements of Rise of Lyric are totally unworkable. He summarized his review by saying that the Sonic name deserves better than Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, and so do consumers. Tim Turi from Game Informer also criticized the poor visual quality, frame rate, dialogue, unfunny jokes, and shoddy level design. So, those are like the reviews that I looked at from. So, from here, I decided to look at Amazon customer reviews, because sometimes you can find some gems, and these are a bit different than people who are paid to review games. So, all of these are from Amazon, and I found a few gems that kind of, I feel, encompass what Sonic Boom, The Rise of Lyric is truly like. So, Time Past 20 gave it 1 star on Amazon. They said, "Wow, Sega, really? Come on, guys. I don't know why you would even put this out." End of review. Excuse me while I slowly become beach too sandy, water too wet for a brief moment. Kentucky Nerd also gave it 1 star on Amazon. They said, one of the worst Sonic games made. Not fun for kids or adults. End of review. Now, I don't have the name of this reviewer, but they titled the review, A Booming Disappointment. They also gave it 1 star. They said, growing up, I was a huge fan of the Sonic franchise, but unfortunately, I've seen it gradually declining by larger and larger steps as time has passed. Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric is terrible, the writing is bad, the voice acting is worse, and I can play a better game with smoother controls, more exciting levels, more interesting boss fights, and equivalent graphics by dusting off my Dreamcast and popping in a copy of Sonic Adventure. End of review. I have a couple more here for you that I think are gems. So Mark, who gave it 3 stars, said, I didn't want to hate this game. I really didn't. I love Sonic, and I was really anticipating the game and show, but the bugs, and the lag, and just the overall ness of the game is just bleh. Glitches and bugs as far as the eye can see. End of review. And this last review I have for you, I feel really gives you a good idea of what playing this game is truly like. It is by Chocolate Spider from Amazon. They gave it 1 star. They said, I was optimistic about this game when it was announced, but that optimism has been brutally crushed. I am absolutely surprised by how mediocre and unrefined this game is. The game is fundamentally flawed in many ways, ranging from story, to mechanics, to technical design. The refresh rate is low and unstable. There is almost no smooth motion through the entire game. The camera is always jerking around like it is epilepsy. The story seems like something from a halfway decent Sonic fan fiction, but it has several elements that to me just indicate lazy storytelling. There are moments where information is clearly unorganized and events in the story are seemingly irrelevant to the major plot at times. Here's just one example of the sheer mediocrity in the design of the game. Right after the gang chases after Lyric, they arrive at Cliff's excavation site. They wander around and find a big gate. Amy says this about the gate. I think it is from Lyric's time. Then there is a cutscene where Cliff explains what the snake is called and what he is. The characters did not obtain the information of what the snake's name or any other information about him until this cutscene, but somehow Amy just randomly knew the snake's name before this event, when his name was never mentioned beforehand. Now that his name is being revealed, she acts like she had no knowledge of it. You expect me not to notice that? How does a storytelling mistake like that stay in there without the developers going, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense? The battle mechanics are tedious and repetitive. Just mash the Y button until your enemies are dead. Dying means nothing because you respawn right where you died and has no consequence to your progress. Therefore, you are given no drive to get better at playing this game. Much to my surprise, the soundtrack sounds very generic. That is something I have never said about any Sonic game. Usually even the worst Sonic games have an appealing soundtrack, but this one just puts me to sleep. The only redeeming quality I think this game has is just its sense of humor. The most this game does for me is give me an occasional chuckle. Listen, Sonic, I love you, man, but this game is just awful. This game has been a waste of my time and money. I can say with full confidence that Sonic the Hedgehog 2006 was significantly better than this title. That may be the single worst thing I have said about any game, and I hope I never have to say that about a Sonic game again. The only consolation I get from playing this is just the acknowledgement that this is just a spin-off from the main series. I honestly feel embarrassed to even admit that I have played this. End of review. So, I think that review alone is pretty telling. And now, before I leave you for the week, hopefully you at least watch some kind of playthrough of Sonic Boom to really just see for yourself how truly awful this game is. I would not recommend buying it to try yourself because it would just be frustrating and not worth your money. But watching any playthrough on YouTube, pretty good idea. But now is the spoilery part of the episode where I tell you about the story, the lore, the plot of Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric. Now, seriously, there really isn't that much. This game is very unsubstantial, and just its plot can be broken down into like 3 paragraphs basically, and you're not missing anything at all. So, without further ado, Jesus Christ. Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric follows Sonic the Hedgehog, Miles, Tails, Prower, Amy Rose, and Knuckles the Echidna as they battle against the evil Dr. Eggman. On what seemed as a regular day of foiling Dr. Eggman's plan, the group What first seems like a regular day of foiling Dr. Eggman's evil plans, the group finds themselves arriving on an island where they encounter an ancient tomb with carvings of Sonic and Tails on the entrance. Sonic is stopped twice by Amy from opening the door, but Metal Sonic then ambushes the group, forcing Sonic to open the door for the group to escape. Inside, they encounter an imprisoned but powerful snake villain named Lyric, the Last Ancient. Lyric recognizes Sonic from events transpiring 1,000 years ago and captures the group. But Tails deactivates the shackles and turns them into beams named Enter Beams for the group to use. After meeting Cliff, the group discovers that Lyric planned to power an army of war robots with the Chaos Crystals. Just reading this, I'm just reading through my notes to give you guys this. Like, I wrote these notes, but just reading through them again and actually saying them out loud is just... Why? What point does any of this have to the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise? How would Lyric recognize Sonic from 1,000 years ago? How does Tails deactivate the shackles and turn them into Enter Beams? Why does he need to? Why does Amy stop him from opening the door? Why does any of it matter? Why does it matter? Anyway, the group discovers that Lyric planned to power an army of war robots with the Chaos Crystals to create a world of twisted metal and robots, but was imprisoned by his peers among the Ancients when they discovered the plan. The group then set out to retrieve the Chaos Crystals before Lyric. Aren't they in the game called Chaos Emeralds, or did they change that for Sonic Boom? I have no idea. Again, just another unanswered question that I'll never know. At an abandoned research facility, they meet... It's either M-A-I-A or Maya. I'm gonna call it Maya. A robot who rebelled against Lyric, who assists them by creating a time portal, allowing Sonic and Tails to go 1,000 years back in time to retrieve a map showing the location of the Chaos Crystals. I guess that answers the one question, but I still have so many more. Just so many. Sonic and Tails are then attacked by Shadow, but defeat him, enter the portal, and successfully retrieve the map from inside Lyric's weapon facility and trap him inside for future imprisonment by the Ancient. Also, why does Shadow show up? What relevance does he have to the story? Same with Metal Sonic. Why? Why do they appear? They literally just appear to add some kind of boss battle and, I guess, further the plot? But, again, what even is this plot? I don't understand. Lyric reluctantly forms an alliance with Eggman, but after no success, Lyric turns on Eggman by programming Metal Sonic against him. The group defeat Metal Sonic and Eggman and retrieve the final Chaos Crystal, but Sonic is then surrounded by Lyric and his robots. Lyric demands the crystals. Sonic refuses to give them up, but Tails, Knuckle, and Amy agree to do so, to save Sonic. Sonic is then attacked by Lyric's robots and buried under rubble, but recovers and the group set out to Lyric's lair to stop him. During the battle, Lyric reprograms the Enter Beams to ensnare the group, but before he can take advantage of the situation, Eggman ambushes Lyric from behind, freeing the group. Sonic then ties up Lyric with assistance from his friends and removes Lyric's technopathy device to incapacitate him. Knuckles then discards it. The group celebrate, but in a post-credit scene, Eggman recovers the device and uses it to retrieve Metal Sonic. Just... more questions. Like, okay, So the game opens with Sonic being crushed by this rubble, and is this whole, like, oh no, Sonic's dead! What do we do now? And then it just cuts to earlier that day. Yes, this all takes place within, like, the span of a day, according to the writers of Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric, which also just is ridiculous to me. So, just, then basically, when you get back to that point of Sonic being buried in the rubble, just, like, he recovers, and everyone's like, yay, Sonic's not dead, let's stop Lyric. And and of course they set up the whole, like, the whole kind of cliche of the end, or is it? Look at what Eggman's doing now. Like, just, did they plan on making another Sonic Boom game? Because I really hope they didn't. Or, like, is the DS game the sequel to this? Because I don't think so. But I don't know. Like, honestly, that's, like, legit all I have for you guys. So if you want to answer any of my questions for me, if you want to talk down to me for bashing a Sonic game, even though this one's pretty bad, send me an email at ratedlforlore@gmail.com. You can even send me in some suggestions about other games to cover. You can send in some gaming theories that you like. Even, like, I don't fully know what this is anymore, so, like, I know there's some cool creepypastas about video games. I know there is a Slender Man game, which that started as a creepypasta, so that's something I could cover. So, like, we can cross the line into that. I'm okay with that. There really are no boundaries here. Like, mobile games, Wii console games, PC games. Even, like, there's some board games that actually have some lore, which is kind of wild. So, like, when I say no game is off limits here, I really mean no game is off limits. So, send in some suggestions to ratedlforlore@gmail.com. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram at ratedlforlore. You can interact with me on there. I've been trying to put up some hints on both, well, on Instagram and Facebook, and also Twitter. You can find me on Twitter at @4_lore. And I think that's it. You can listen to any previous episodes on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on Audio Boom, really on YouTube. There's a YouTube channel for this. Like, really, you can find Rated L for Lore pretty much anywhere you listen to podcasts. Recommend the show to your friends. Also, don't forget to leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, because that really, really helps me a lot. And if you do, I will read it on the show. And if you're the first one, like, you can be the first one. That's so cool and exciting. Why don't you do it? Again, I'm challenging you. Just do it. But yeah. Also, maybe give me some feedback to let me know how I'm doing, because if there's anything that I'm doing wrong, if there's any mistakes I made, like, I don't know without any feedback. So I could just be spouting nonsense and y'all are just here eating it up. So, I don't know. Tell me I'm wrong. I'm wrong sometimes. But yeah, this has been episode 5 of Rated L for Lore. Again, I am your host, Ashley Day. Also, maybe, like, let me know if you like this more unscripted thing better, where it just, does it feel more genuine? I don't know. Like, give me some feedback, please. Yeah, I hope you enjoy your Monday and the rest of your week, and I will see you guys, or I guess you guys will hear from me next week for a whole new episode.